Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another video from my channel Interactive Education, and today we will be discussing the last unit of the chapter Nationalism in India, and that will be the sense of collective belonging. So we have discussed till the civil disobedience movement, how the civil disobedience movement progressed and how the national movement progressed up till the civil disobedience movement. But from this unit, we are going to understand how nationalist sentiments were developed. So nationalist sentiment, how did we develop nationalist sentiment? This is what we're going to study. Okay, how did that sentiment develop? So the development of nationalist sentiment, that is what is crucial in a national movement. To make sure that a national movement is a success, there needs to be the development of nationalistic sentiment. So nationalism basically develops when people begin to feel that they have a common heritage, culture, descent, and belonging to the same nation. So obviously when people begin to feel that, okay, we have a common heritage, we have the same culture, we have descended from the same ancestors, and we belong to the same nation. When this ideology develops, then we say that nationalism is developing amongst people. And there are three major ways in which we can develop nationalism amongst people, right? We can use culture, we can use personalities, figures, and symbols, or we can use the interpretation of history. We're going to consider this step by step. Culture includes folk tales, folk songs, cultural practices, art, literature. So basically, when we're using folk tales, when tales which make us feel that we are part of the same culture, same traditions, and when we use different things such as literature, art, these things tend to develop a sense of national sentiment. Then we can also use personalities and figures, and this includes female allegories. Basically, an allegory is something which can be identified to the nation. So it is a symbol, a personality, a figure, anything which we can use to identify to the nation. So in India, the female allegory of Bharat Mata, which we use even today, was very, very famous. It was used to create national sentiment, to visualize the nation in the form of a particular figure as a personality. And there were various forms of Bharat Mata which evolved over time. It also included the Indian flag, which also developed. We're going to study about two main Indian flags, that is the Swadeshi flag, which was developed during the Swadeshi movement in Bengal, and we are also going to study about the Swaraj Flag, which was developed by Mahatma Gandhi in 1921. So we're going to study about these two flags mainly, and which developed in different forms. Again, these two we're going to study mainly. And then the interpretation of history, how history is interpreted, how people study history, they understand the history, and they develop a belonging to the history of the country, right? So this is how national sentiment can be developed amongst people. Next comes to Bharat Mata. Let's start with Bharat Mata now. Bharat Mata, something which is very common even today. The motherland, Mother India, Bharat Mata. Bharat Mata was basically a female allegory. As I've told you, female allegory. Allegory is basically a symbol which can be used, a symbol, a figure, a representation of the nation. Okay, it can be a figure, a symbol, anything, okay, which represents the nation. So Bharat Mata was a female allegory with which Indians began to identify and visualize the nation. So again, she became a visualization of the nation, an interpretation of the nation, okay. And it was first created by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, okay, who wrote the song Vande Mataram in 1870s, which was widely sung during the Swadeshi movement. Again, Vande Mataram was a song which we use even today. It is the national song of India, right? This is the national song. Other than the national anthem written by Rabindranath Tagore, that is Jana Gan Man, we have Vande Mataram, which is the national song. So this was a song written by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. Again, a song which created nationalist sentiment amongst people. He also was the first to come up with the idea of Bharat Mata, and he was the first one to create Bharat Mata as a female allegory, right? Now, influenced by the Swadeshi movement in Bengal, Abanindranath Tagore painted his famous picture of Bharat Mata. Now, this is Abanindranath Tagore Bharat Mata. Abanindranath Tagore's painting. So this is Abanindranath Tagore's Bharat Mata. This was the picture of Bharat Mata he painted. Okay, he was influenced by the Swadeshi movement and he painted his famous picture of Bharat Mata. This is the one, even given in your NCERT textbook. And she was shown to be calm Calm means you can see she's very calm. Ascetic means like a sadhu sant kind of person. So you can see she's very religious. She's being depicted as a sadhvi kind of person, and she's composed. Obviously, she looks very composed towards one particular area. You can see the way she's been painted very beautifully, divine and spiritually. So you can see that these were the characteristics of the painting of Bharat Mata made by Avanindranath Tagore in during the Swadeshi movement in Bengal, right? Swadeshi movement, again, it boycotted foreign products and it worked towards the using of Indian products. Now, belief and faith in Bharat Mata became a way in which one could depict one's nationalism and nationalistic sentiment. So basically, it was seen that if you had devotion towards Bharat Mata, if you respected Bharat Mata, it was seen that you have a sense of respect towards the nation, a sense of nationalist sentiment towards the nation. Okay? Now the Indian flag, right? The Indian flag is what we're going to study the next thing. This was again another important symbol which was used to create nationalist sentiment. Now the Indian flag underwent drastic transformations and new forms of it were designed over time. So today we have a flag in India which is your saffron, then white, then green, and in the center we have the Ashok Chakra, right? That's the modern Indian flag which was adopted by the Congress just near the by the Constituent Assembly. Yes, by the Constituent Assembly just before independence. So that was the Indian flag which we have today. But again, Indian flag developed in many forms. We are going to study mainly the two main ones. That is the Swadeshi flag and the Swaraj flag. Now, the first prominent Indian flag was designed during the Swadeshi movement in Bengal, right? During the Swadeshi movement in Bengal, we developed the Swadeshi flag, and it had the following features. It was a tricolor flag with colors red, yellow and green. So you can see that this is the Swadeshi flag. Okay, this is the Swadeshi flag, and you can see the features of the Swadeshi flag. There is green, then we have yellow in the center, and then we have red. Yes, we have red. So you can see that green, yellow, red, right? Now it had red, yellow, green. This was the order from down to above, but it's okay. These were the three colors. It was a tricolor flag, and it had 8 lotuses. You can see 8 lotuses. These are the 8 lotuses. Let me mark them. These were the 8 lotuses. Okay, 8 lotuses. And what did these 8 lotuses represent? They represented the 8 provinces of British India. Okay, the 8 provinces of British India, 8 lotuses represented. Okay, and then finally it had a crescent moon which represented Hindus and Muslims. So you can see that there is the sun here and there is the crescent moon here. Okay, this represented the Hindus, this represented the Hindus, and this represented the Muslims. Okay, in your textbook, this is what they've given. They've not mentioned about the sun, but this is the actual Swadeshi flag. Okay, there was a crescent moon which represented Hindus. There was a sun which represented, sun which represented Hindus, crescent moon which represented Muslims. So this was the Indian flag, that is the Swadeshi flag, which was the first, important form of flag which was developed for national sentiment. So you can see again this flag too created a sense of nationalism because again it was a depiction of the nation. It depicted the 8 provinces, it depicted the religions too, Hindus and Muslims, although it did not consider other religions such as Jains, Sikhs, Buddhists, etc. So that created problems later on, due to which it was rejected. And then you can see that the colors also represent: red is representing Hindus, green is representing Muslims, and yellow is basically representing all other religions. So you can see that this was the flag developed, and it was a Swadeshi movement flag developed during the Swadeshi movement in Bengal, right? So that was the first form of the Swadeshi flag. Next we come to the Swaraj flag, and this is an important flag because Gandhiji himself developed this flag in 1921. So by 1921 Gandhiji designed the Swaraj flag. This is the Swaraj flag. Okay. Now the Swaraj flag had the following features. First was, again, it was a tricolor flag, but its colors were slightly different. It had white, red and green instead of yellow, red and green. So you can see there was white here, there is green here, and there is red here. Okay, so this is red itself, so let's use another color. There is red, right? So white, green and red, a tricolor flag. It had a spinning wheel, that is charkha, at the center. So you can see this is the charkha at the center, which represented the Gandhian ideal of self-help, right? Swayam ka kaam, your own work. Okay? You should work yourself. Self-help. The Gandhian idea of self-help was denoted by this charkha. And this flag was widely carried during marches and protests by satyagrahis across the country. So it was a very, very famous flag. It was carried widely during protests, and since it was designed by Gandhiji himself, again, it had more importance. So it was widely carried during marches and protests by satyagrahis across the country, right? So this was the Swaraj flag, again an important flag. From you can get a question from the board. It has come many times that explain the features of the Swaraj flag or explain the features of the Swadeshi flag. So this is an important point. Please note it down. I hope you are clear with these 3 points, right? Let's go on. Now, interpretation of history. This is the final way in which we can actually create national sentiment. So, interpretation of history, how history can be interpreted. So, by the end of the 19th century, when the end of the 19th century came, Indians began feeling that to instill nationalism, history had to be thought of differently. So we needed to make use of history. We need to use the power of history to create a sense of nationalism. Now, the British, how did they colonize Indians? It's because they saw Indians as uncivilized and primitive. Now, if you watch movies and if you see movies of British India, in India and Hindi itself, or even in English, you will see that the British often treated Indians as primitive and uncivilized creatures. They used to call them uncivilized animals and primitive people, and like they have come to rule on India and brought civilization to India. That's what they believed. That was the phobia they had in them. That they had brought civilization to India with British rule, right? But again, when this happened later on, when Indians finally thought of thinking of studying history, finally they realized that okay, we should give them a response. So Indians began reading history. Finally, they started reading history and they discovered India's great achievements, that in the past too, India had done wonders. That's what it started doing. They realized that India had been the hub of development of several fields. So India had been a major hub for the development of many, many fields, such as science and maths, society and culture, trade and commerce. Obviously, science and maths is obvious because science, we had so many scientists. We had Aryabhatta, who was an astrologer as well as a mathematician, right? Then we had so many other mathematics. We had Bodhyan's theorem, which is similar to the Pythagoras theorem, but it was developed much before. Then there was the Marathi, I forgot his name, but Marathi scientist who had developed the first form of the plane, even though it's not so widely known, but still. So you can see that there were development of several fields, and India has all the Vedas, has all the sutras, right? So in all these sutras, we had the Ganit Sutra, we had the Bodh Sutra, we had so many sutras with us, right? So in this way, see, we have knowledge of so many things, and that's what Indians realized after studying history. And they finally realized one more important thing, that this development, right, it saw a decline. When did it see a decline? When India was colonized with the British. Because the British did not let India develop. Indians develop because they imposed their own restrictions on India. They imposed their own problems on India. They imposed their own things on India, and hence it met with a decline for Indians. Right? So this was the final way in which nationalism was instilled amongst people and collective belonging was created amongst the Indian people. Right? Okay, so let's put an exclamation mark here. So with this, we conclude this chapter. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you understood everything in this chapter. It's a very, very important chapter, both from examination point of view as well as from life point of view. Because again, you should have faith and nationalism in your own country. So in that way too, it is an interesting, very beautiful chapter. And even from exam point of view, it is a very, very important chapter. So I wish you all the best for your exams. Even I am giving my board exams. So because I'm also in class 10. So wish me luck too. And I wish you all the best for your exams. Any kind of doubts are welcome in the comment section below. Goodbye. Stay healthy, stay smart, and do keep studying. Bye-bye.